65-year-old male back pain.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Meep Radio with your host, Kermit the Frog, on March 4th, 2015. Today, the topic of discussion is the Mayan Prophecy of 2012 and the future of mankind. Hello and welcome to my first podcast. I wish to discuss the prophecy of 2012, the Mayan end of the world. Firstly, as we all know, this time has come and gone. It is now 2015, and we're all still here. Or are we? Mind blown! There is a theory that we are all living in a holographic universe, one in which we are slaves to a higher power, and one where our reality is simply a manifestation of our own consciousness. However, I will not be getting into that subject right now. Furthermore, the theory would lend credence to the idea that we are trapped in some other type of reality, supposing that the 2012 prophecy actually did come true, and we are all in fact dead but don't realize it. If this is the case, then I guess we will never know, because we're all trapped inside the facade reality, aren't we? So, many media sources have upheld the belief that the Mayans had some sort of otherworldly guidance which led them to create and live by a calendar which ended on December 21st, 2012, meaning that it would be the end of all days on Earth. Is this not the same notion that supported the idea that the world was flat? In older times, time is relative and unrealistic, but that's a whole other topic. People generally believe that the world was flat because they would lose sight of ships as they sailed further into the horizon, So obviously they did not fall into a fiery pit of hell, or just, keep sailing off into the cosmos because they did not, in fact, return. Some went on to discover, quote-unquote, discover the New World. Others were caught in the doldrums and had GPS systems named after them in very long withheld mockery. In any case, we know that simply because we lose sight of something does not mean that it has gone forever. It simply means that we can no longer see said object, and that we are limited in our human forms. The Mayans were no different. Now it is known that we are all still here, and it is also known that man as a species is inherently arrogant. Our situational awareness levels do not measure up to par to most of the time in the modern age. Think about how we know, quote-unquote know, about how our world is versus the rest of the galaxy, and how we take authority in that knowledge. We don't know anything. We know nothing. The oceans are a complete mystery to us. Space is a mystery. Our own brains are a mystery. We cannot even verify with complete certainty that we did in fact land on the moon. Yet we can decipher ancient texts and calendars from a civilization that has been long dead and say with certainty that means that, we're all going to die on 2012? I don't think so. I think not. The fact remains, the literal translations on the Mayan calendar say that 12/21/12 was the end of an age, astrologically speaking. See, the Mayans were very big into astrology. They knew what was going on. They knew about star charts. They knew about a lot of different things. Now, we do know that these people, as well as many other ancient peoples, were very interested and very well versed in astrology. We have left the age of Pisces, and we are entering the age of Aquarius. Quite literally, the end of an age. There was also speak of a polar shift. Think about this. If the Earth's poles were to suddenly shift, the crust of the Earth would all have to simultaneously break free from the mantle and begin to rotate. That could tear the Earth apart. What I believe is actually happening here is that the Earth's poles are slowly shifting. Its ley lines are moving in a different grid. North is not becoming south, or vice versa. I have seen most of the videos, I've read some books, I've watched the educational channel programming on the subject of cataclysm. They are mostly subjective. The end of the world, as an event, has been prophesied many, many times, and the old paradigm still holds true. We will not know when the Earth will take its leave of us, but I do know this: we have taken leave of her. Mother Earth, in spite of all of her calls for help. When will the end come? It will come when we as a people lose our way completely and become completely male, left-brained, and destroy ourselves. Let us not be arrogant to our surroundings. It is all connected, and just listen. All right, so that last piece was an article that I wrote called The Mayan Prophecy of 2012, The Future of Mankind. I had a good time writing it, and I thought it was important to kind of just throw that out there. And as long as we're, getting out there a little bit, let's start talking about space. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Earth, and its inhabitants who repeatedly divide themselves into factions, annihilators and those who attempt understanding. Let's begin with the annihilators, shall we? The people of this Earth, in the last couple hundred years, have become filled with unwarranted sense of self, a sense that is carried through to the last generations, and has bred a level of greed that the Earth has not seen before, or at least in recent history. However, this trend has been seen in the past before. Look at all the world domination hopefuls: Attila the Hun, Napoleon, Hitler, Mussolini, etc. Whatever happened to the times when people were people and there was a mutual respect for one another? I'll tell you what happened. And for this story, I ask that you, the reader, rather the listener, take this with an open mind and heart. And remember that history is not always as it seems. To Lemuria we go. Long, long ago, there was a landmass called Lemuria, where we all came from. The beings that were there were completely right-brained. There was no greed, there was only love. After an invasion of the left-brained people of Mars, we became more left-brained by condition. This is what led to the sinking of Atlantis, and also brings us back to the topic of the karmic wheel. What is the meaning of life? The age-old question. Well, we are all here on this earth for a purpose. Each and every one of us has a purpose here, big or small as it may seem. One of the purposes we all share is to grow into a state of enlightenment so that we can move on to the next dimensional plane, the fifth dimension. We currently live in the third dimension. In this one, we are sensory and physical. Examples of this include what we can and cannot visually perceive, as well as what we cannot hear. Infrared light, ultraviolet light, we cannot see any of this. In fact, if we were to look at the complete known light spectrum field, we can only perceive a very small portion of the types of light that we see, and we know to exist. This brings the question, if we can exist in the third dimension, where the inhabitants, us, we see and feel only this small portion, is there a possibility that all around us is another form of light or matter where there are other beings or forces? The answer is most likely a resounding yes. Think about this for just a minute. How can we say with any sense of confidence that we're the only ones out there? Come on. In our third dimension, we have solids, liquids, and gases, all things that we can feel in one way or another. But I, for one, refuse to believe for a second that there isn't something else out there, or right next to me, simply because I cannot see it. I'm going to move into karma. Just be patient, please. Everything on the earth is alive in one way or another. If it is not currently alive, perception again, see where I'm going with this? If it was not currently alive, it was at one point. It has been said in the past that our life form, carbon-based life forms, is the only one scientifically recognized. Well, science, I do not recognize your credence or authority. We know that silicon-based life forms can exist. We also have been given loads of evidence that there is, or was, life on Mars. Remember Lemuria? And possibly on other planets in our solar system. So let us begin with crystals. Our basis of life revolves around vibrational patterns. Everything has it, and nothing exists without it. Even our reality, our dimension, has a vibrational pattern. As such, the idea that we all came from somewhere, and the only immortal part of us is the soul, moves us onto the discussion of karma. If you've made it this far, I applaud you. Thank you for listening. I'm still going to keep going. Karma is the belief that basically whatever you put in, you'll get back. Elementarily, if you are a jerk, you will receive jerk back to you. Just like George Costanza said, the jerk store called, they're all out of you. On the flip side, if you spread positivity, you will receive positivity. Along with karma is reincarnation. Whether you believe this or not, it is your own choice. This article, this podcast, this talk, is to be read with an open mind. Think about it this way. We all have to start somewhere. In the Native American system, as well as others, we are all connected. We are all one, joined by some force of nature. We are all one big family. This is true, especially considering we are all from the same place. You don't have any neighbors from another planet, do you? Keeping in with this line, if we're all connected, it would stand to reason that we could in fact be reincarnating from one life to another, starting, say, as a stone and moving on to a single-celled organism, etc. Considering still that everyone and everything has a vibrational pattern. So if you're listening to this, you are human, and you are in the last stage of Earth's evolutionary system. Our next step from here is to move on from being a physical being and becoming a being of light. This being, of course, in the fifth dimension, where it is believed that the ascended masters, the angels, the other light beings live. We are destined to get to this place, and it has been a long road. This is why karma is so important. Remember the Mayan Prophecy of 2012 that I spoke about a little while ago? The ending of an age? That was the age of Pisces. We are moving into the age of Aquarius, aka the age of enlightenment. At some point, we will be shifting into that other reality. If our people are not enlightened spiritually, they will not join on the transition. They will be left behind until they get to that point, which will take another turn on the karmic wheel to achieve. They will be starting all over again. It is my belief that I have lived many lifetimes, and in each one I have attempted to complete my goal of unity among people in the spiritual enlightenment. In each one, I have had a wife in the picture, and in each one I did not succeed. Try as I might to bring light to the people, I was either killed or died on my own, and I did not fully complete my mission. I'm also an indigo child, one who has been here a long time as a human, and has a mission to uncover the bullshit and pave the way for people spiritually to lead them to a place where they can achieve enlightenment. I will write a separate article and maybe have a separate podcast on the indigo children as a whole. But for now, take a breather, go do some research online. Part of my personal mission here in this life is to bring healing to the people. I was born a healer. I can communicate with the beings in the astral realms, act as a medium for them, a shaman of sorts, by definition. I discovered this ability very early on in life, and also another article will be written on this, and another podcast will be spoken about shamanism. I actually have a guest who is going to be coming onto the show and talking about shamanism and spiritual healing. However, as a healer, I bring peace to the souls of the many, and I help them to understand their place here on Earth, where they are, where they need to be, which, as it so happens, is a big part of the reason behind this podcast. I feel the need to reach out to the masses. And so I say unto you, do good to others, see the good in people, expand your mind and ask questions, spend time daily in meditation, search for who you really are. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me on here, send me a message, send me an email, contact me on YouTube. You could go on Facebook.com, search for The Astral Swamp, TheAstralSwamp, The Astral Swamp. And like my page, I'm always willing to lend a hand or an ear. Come to me and I'll try my best to help as best as I can. I thank you for listening to my show today. You have been listening to the Meep Radio Show with Kermit the Frog. Have a great day, everybody.